The emergency lights inside the alien medical station suddenly turned red. A loud alarm echoed through every corridor. Doctors, nurses, and medical drones quickly stopped their work and looked toward the main docking bay. Something unexpected had just arrived. Outside the station, a small escape pod floated slowly toward the airlock. The metal surface of the pod was burned and damaged. Deep scratches covered the hull, as if something violent had happened in space. Inside the control room, Chief Medic Dr. Virex stared at the large screen. "Identify the pod," he ordered calmly. The station AI quickly responded. "Unknown military escape pod detected. Life form inside. 1. Species human." The room became silent. A human. Very few humans had ever been treated in alien medical stations. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and most alien species knew very little about them. Dr. Virex turned to his medical team. "Prepare the emergency room. The patient may be critical." The airlock door slowly opened. The damaged escape pod was pulled inside by mechanical arms. Steam hissed from broken panels as the pod touched the metal floor. Medical drones surrounded it immediately. One of the nurses asked nervously, "Chief, do we know how bad the injuries are?" Dr. Virex shook his head. "We will know soon." The pod door suddenly unlocked with a loud metallic sound. The medical drones carefully lifted the lid. Inside the pod lay a human soldier. His uniform was torn and covered with dried blood. His breathing was slow and uneven. His face was pale, and deep wounds covered his arms and chest. The medical scanner activated instantly. A holographic display appeared above the patient. Dr. Virex's eyes widened slightly. "This is very serious." Several bones were broken. Internal bleeding was detected. One lung was partially collapsed. Heart rate unstable. For most species in the galaxy, injuries like this meant certain death. A nurse whispered quietly, "How is he still alive?" Dr. Virex answered honestly, "I do not know. Move him to the surgical room. Now!" The medical drones lifted the human carefully and rushed through the bright white corridors of the station. Inside the surgical chamber, powerful lights turned on above the table. Machines surrounded the patient. Robotic surgical arms moved into position. The alien doctors worked quickly. Stabilize breathing. Prepare bone repair gel. Start internal scan. The machines beeped rapidly as they analyzed the human body. But suddenly something strange appeared on the monitor. One of the younger medics leaned closer to the screen. "Chief, you need to see this." Dr. Virex walked over. "What is it?" The medic pointed at the scan. "The internal bleeding, it is stopping." Dr. Virex frowned. "That is impossible. We have not started treatment yet." But the numbers continued to change. The damaged blood vessels were slowly repairing themselves. Then another medic spoke. "The broken rib, it is moving." "What do you mean moving?" "It is fixing itself." The room became quiet again. Dr. Virex stared at the monitor carefully. The human's rib bone was slowly sliding back into place. Tiny fractures were closing, as if invisible hands were repairing them. No medicine had been used yet. No surgery had started. Yet the body was healing. The medical AI spoke calmly. "Warning! Unknown biological recovery process detected." One nurse stepped back in shock. "This is not natural." Dr. Virex felt a strange feeling in his chest. He had treated thousands of patients from many different species across the galaxy, but he had never seen anything like this. "Continue scanning," he ordered. The machines adjusted and began a deeper analysis. More strange data appeared. Muscle tissue was regenerating. Skin wounds were slowly closing. Blood pressure was stabilizing. One medic whispered nervously, "Chief, the healing speed is increasing." Dr. Virex looked again. The numbers were rising faster. What normally took days was happening in minutes. The collapsed lungs slowly expanded again. Oxygen levels improved. The human's heart rate became steady. The doctors were now only watching. They were no longer treating the patient. The patient was treating himself. Suddenly the human's fingers moved. Everyone froze. The nurse stepped back. "Did he just move?" Dr. Virex raised a hand. "Stay calm." The human's breathing became stronger. Then slowly his eyes opened. For a moment, the room felt completely silent. The human looked around slowly. Bright alien lights, strange machines, tall creatures with gray skin and glowing eyes. He blinked a few times. Then he spoke with a weak but clear voice. "Where am I?" The alien medics looked at each other. No one answered immediately. Dr. Virex finally stepped forward. "You are inside a galactic medical station. Your escape pod arrived here." The human tried to sit up. The nurses quickly moved closer. "Please remain still," one of them said. "You were severely injured." But the human looked down at his body. Most of the wounds were already closed. The blood had stopped flowing. He touched his side where a deep injury had been before. Now only a small scar remained. He looked confused. "How long was I unconscious?" Dr. Virex checked the monitor. "Approximately 17 minutes. The human raised his eyebrows slightly. "Only 17? The doctors exchanged looks again. To them, surviving those injuries even for 17 seconds would have been impossible. Dr. Virex spoke carefully. "Your body has recovered at a very unusual speed." The human slowly sat up anyway. Surprisingly, he did not look weak anymore. His breathing was strong. His eyes were focused. He looked at the doctors calmly. "My name is Captain Daniel Hayes, United Earth Defense Fleet." The name meant little to the alien doctors, but his calm behavior surprised them. Most patients who woke up from near death were confused or afraid. This human looked ready. Dr. Virex crossed his arms slightly. "Captain Hayes, can you explain how your body healed so quickly?" Hayes thought for a moment. Then he gave a small smile. "Human biology." The doctors waited for more explanation, but that was all he said. One medic asked curiously, "Is this normal for your species?" Hayes shrugged lightly. "Depends on the situation." The medical team looked even more confused. Dr. Virex opened another scan. The results were even stranger now. Bone density was increasing. Muscle fibers were strengthening. It was as if the human body was not only healing, but improving. Then suddenly the station AI interrupted. Incoming long-range signal detected. Dr. Virex turned toward the main screen. "Display it." A holographic star map appeared. Several red signals blinked on the edge of the system. Unknown ships. And they were moving directly toward the station. One of the medics gasped. "That is a military fleet." Dr. Virex studied the signals. Large ships. Heavily armed. Not medical vessels. Then the AI continued speaking. Transmission received. The voice that came through the speakers sounded cold. "Attention, medical station. You are currently harboring stolen property." Dr. Virex narrowed his eyes. "Identify yourself." "This is Commander Rallick of the Krail Dominion Fleet." The name made several medics nervous. The Krail Dominion was known across the galaxy for one thing. They conquered everything. The voice continued. "We are here for the human soldier. Return him immediately." The medical room slowly turned toward Captain Hayes. He had already stood up from the table. His body looked completely normal now. The deep wounds from earlier were gone. Dr. Virex asked quietly, "Do you know these attackers?" Hayes looked toward the star map. Then he sighed slightly. "Yeah." The chief medic felt a growing concern. "Why are they hunting you?" Hayes looked back at the alien doctors. For the first time, his expression became serious. "Because I destroyed one of their warships." The room went silent again. One medic whispered, "You destroyed a warship alone?" Hayes did not answer directly. Instead, he looked toward the window that showed the stars outside. The red signals were getting closer. The Krail fleet was approaching fast. Dr. Virex felt something unusual. Fear, not for the human, but for the station. "Captain Hayes," he said slowly, "this is a medical facility. We are not prepared for combat." Hayes nodded. "I know." The alarms began ringing again. The enemy ships had entered the system. Outside the station, distant lights appeared in space. Warships. Huge and dangerous. The medics stared at the approaching fleet in horror. But when they looked back at the human, Captain Hayes was strangely calm. He rolled his shoulders slightly. His body moved like a soldier preparing for action. Then he asked a simple question. Do you have any defense systems on the station? Dr. Virex answered honestly. Only basic ones. Hayes gave a small smile. Good enough. The medics looked at him in confusion. How can basic weapons stop a fleet? One asked. Hayes walked slowly toward the control screen. His eyes studied the station systems carefully. Then he spoke quietly. Sometimes you don't need stronger weapons. The medics leaned closer. What do you need then? Captain Hayes looked at them with a calm expression. Creativity. Outside the window, the first enemy warship moved into attack position. Inside the medical station, the alien doctors suddenly realized something important. The human they had rescued was not just a patient. He was something much more dangerous. And the real fight had not even started yet. The red warning lights flashed across the medical station, casting long, sharp shadows along the sterile corridors. The hum of the machinery was joined by the low, mechanical breathing of the alien medics, who were still staring at the human soldier now standing calmly near the control console. Captain Daniel Hayes' eyes scanned the holographic star map projected in front of him, every blinking red that represented an enemy ship, and the fleet was moving with terrifying precision. The Krail Dominion had been known across the galaxy as merciless conquerors, but they had clearly underestimated the station and the human they were chasing. Dr. Virex and his team huddled around one of the medical scanners. Even after witnessing the miraculous self-healing, they could not stop themselves from running more scans. The results continued to baffle them. The regeneration, it's accelerating, said one young medic, voice barely above a whisper. Not just healing, Dr. Virex corrected. His muscles, his reflexes, his body is strengthening itself. Every minute, he is becoming more capable than before. Hayes overheard them but didn't react. He was studying the approaching fleet, calculating trajectories and running simulations in his head faster than any alien computer could. His mind was precise, controlled, and terrifyingly calm. A medical drone floated closer to him. Its scanner had been trying to understand what made a human different. It emitted a series of low-frequency beeps and whirs as it tried to process the readings. Dr. Virex noticed the drone's panic. Though it had no emotions, the AI protocols recognized unusual patterns. This is unprecedented, Virex murmured. The human body, it adapts. It doesn't just heal. It evolves in real time. Hayes finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. You need to understand something. Humans survived for millions of years on a planet that was trying to kill them every day. Predators, plagues, natural disasters. Earth trained our species to recover faster than any other. One of the medics frowned. But your species, you're small. No natural armor. No claws. Nothing that could fight a predator as strong as the Krail Dominion. Hayes smiled faintly, almost sadly. Strength alone doesn't matter. Survival does. And we always survive. The alarm system of the station suddenly blared again. The first Krail warship had fired a long-range scanning pulse, trying to locate Hayes inside the station. The pulse was powerful enough to disrupt most life forms, but when it reached a human, the scanners indicated nothing. The human body absorbed it, neutralized it, and even converted a small portion of the energy into his own bioelectric field. Dr. Virex's jaw dropped. He's absorbing energy? Yes, Hayes said quietly without turning. It's called adaptation, and it works very fast. Suddenly, the medical station shuddered violently. The floor beneath them vibrated as distant explosions rang out. The enemy fleet had begun targeting the station's weaker hull sections. Lights flickered. The walls trembled. The alien medics panicked. They were healers, not soldiers. Their station was never designed for combat. Hayes turned to face them. Stay calm. I need everyone on their stations. Follow my instructions, and no one will die today. Dr. Virex hesitated. You want us to fight? Yes, Hayes replied simply. But not like you think. Not with strength. With brains. And biology. The medic stared, unsure what he meant. Hayes moved to the station's main control console and began analyzing the defense systems. The station's weapons were outdated, basic models that were nearly useless against a fleet. But Hayes didn't need more firepower. He saw potential where others only saw limits. He began reprogramming the defense drones. Medical units that normally healed wounds were now being temporarily converted into attack drones. Repair bots that fix hull damage were instructed to create moving barricades and corridors. Even the station security AI, designed only to alert personnel, was reprogrammed to predict enemy fleet movements and optimize targeting solutions. The alien medics watched, their fear slowly turning into disbelief. "Is this allowed?" asked a young medic nervously. Hayes turned and smiled faintly. "Rules don't matter when survival is on the line. Nothing in your manuals could prepare you for a human." Outside the station, the enemy fleet's first salvo hit. Explosions rocked the station, shaking windows and sending debris flying. Aliens were thrown off balance, and the medics braced themselves. But Hayes didn't flinch. The drones he had reprogrammed intercepted several incoming missiles, redirecting them harmlessly into space. The station's old laser turrets, weak by conventional standards, suddenly became precise weapons as Hayes adjusted their targeting. In minutes, the first wave of enemy ships was partially destroyed, and the remaining ones hesitated. Dr. Virex finally spoke, awe in his voice. "He's controlling the station. All of it, alone." "Yes," Hayes said, almost casually. "The human brain is like this station. Adaptable, quick, efficient. I can use anything anywhere to survive." A technician noticed a scanner showing another anomaly. Hayes had taken minor damage during the battle, several cuts and bruises from hull debris. But within moments, the wounds closed. The skin stitched itself together. The blood stopped flowing and muscle fibers repaired instantly. One medic whispered, voice trembling, "He's invincible." Hayes shook his head slightly, a faint smile playing on his lips. "No. Invincible? That's impossible. But nearly unstoppable? Yes." The Krail Dominion fleet regrouped. More ships appeared from hyperspace, larger and more dangerous. They had realized their mistake. The human was not just a soldier. They were a weapon, a strategist, a healer, and a survivor all in one. Hayes turned to the medics. "You see those ships? They're powerful, but they're predictable. They follow patterns. They don't adapt as fast as humans. Watch and learn." He moved quickly across the control deck, his fingers dancing over consoles. In minutes, he analyzed enemy fleet formations, calculated vulnerabilities, and redirected energy to key defensive points. Hull breaches were repaired before they could widen. Escape pods were repositioned to act as barriers. Medical drones zipped through corridors, creating moving decoys. The Krail commander, unaware of what awaited, ordered a full assault. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams shot toward the station. Explosions tore through the outer hull. Alien medics ducked behind machinery, expecting the worst. But the station fought back. Drones fired, turrets hit critical targets, and barriers diverted attacks. The hull repairs and automated systems kept pace with damage faster than the enemy could destroy. And in the middle of it all, Captain Hayes moved calmly, analyzing, adapting, calculating. The Krail commander shouted into the comms, frustration evident in his tone. "What kind of creature is this human? He should be dead." Hayes answered, voice calm, almost gentle. "I'm exactly what humans were trained to be. We survive. Always." Meanwhile, Dr. Virex observed the human's body again. The healing factor was remarkable. Minor fractures, cuts, and burns disappeared almost instantly. The alien medics were forced to accept a terrifying truth. Human biology was not just resilient, it was adaptive. Every injury triggered a faster response, and every challenge made the human stronger. One medic asked in disbelief, How can this species exist?" Hayes didn't answer. He was already looking at the star map, planning the next move. The enemy fleet began retreating slowly, realizing that the medical station was no longer an easy target. Several ships had been destroyed, and the remaining ones were unsure what to do against a single human controlling a station. Hayes turned back to the alien medics. "This is only the beginning. They will return bigger and stronger. But we are ready. You just have to trust me and yourselves." Dr. Virex finally nodded. I think I understand now. You are not just a soldier. You are evolution in motion. Hayes gave a small nod. Exactly. We humans survive because we adapt. We heal. We fight. And when the galaxy underestimates us, that's when we are most dangerous. The medics watched as he moved through the station, checking systems, calming drones, and quietly preparing for the next wave. Outside, space was calm for now, but everyone knew it would not stay that way for long. Captain Hayes stood by the main console, a human in a galaxy full of beings that had never truly understood his species. And that was his advantage. He didn't just survive battles. He thrived in them. And the galaxy had only begun to realize the unexpected turning point of underestimating humans. The Krail Dominion would learn, in the days to come, that no fleet, no weapon, and no strategy could match the adaptability and resilience of a human willing to survive. Because humans always survive. The alien medics and technicians worked frantically, but the red lights flashing throughout the station reflected the truth. This battle was far from over. The Krail Dominion fleet had regrouped after their initial failed assault. Their ships, massive and armed with destructive energy cannons, hovered at the edge of the system, scanning for weaknesses in the station's defenses. Captain Daniel Hayes, however, stood calmly at the central command console. His eyes scanned the star map, his mind processing thousands of calculations per second. Every ship in the Krail fleet had weaknesses. Every weapon had a cooldown. Every movement had a pattern. To an ordinary alien, the numbers were impossible to understand. To Hayes, they were predictable. The station's main hull shuddered as a Krail warship fired a high-energy beam. The light flared across the observation windows. Alien medics ducked instinctively, but Hayes didn't move. He simply observed. Energy output, 82%. Cooldown in 7.3 seconds. Redirection possible, he muttered under his breath. Then, with calm precision, he tapped commands into the console. Defense turrets, previously automated with slow protocols, shifted their aim. The energy beam hit one of the station's decoy pods. Explosions erupted, sending shards into space, but the main hull remained intact. Dr. Virex watched in awe. How is he calculating that so quickly? Hayes glanced over his shoulder. I'm not calculating. I'm adapting. That's what humans do. We don't just respond. We improve in real time. The Krail commander's voice blared through the comm system. You will surrender the human immediately. Any resistance will result in total destruction. Hayes pressed a button and a calm, almost casual voice echoed in reply. I don't think you understand. Resistance isn't optional, it's inevitable. The alien medics were shocked. Hayes wasn't just responding. He was taunting the enemy. He was confident, precise, and completely unafraid. Then, the unexpected happened. The enemy fleet fired a coordinated barrage, hundreds of missiles streaking toward the station. Normally, these missiles would have shattered the hull and killed everyone inside within seconds. But Hayes had anticipated this. Medical drones, repurposed by Hayes, zipped through the corridors and launched small intercept units. Repair bots extended metallic arms, creating moving shields that redirected some missiles. Laser turrets, reprogrammed for rapid targeting, destroyed others. The human's body, even in the midst of command work, absorbed a small fragment of energy from debris, further enhancing his endurance. The medics could only watch as the station, under the guidance of a single human, began fighting back. Impossible, whispered one technician. They were supposed to destroy us in minutes. How is he doing this? Hayes didn't answer. Instead, he studied the energy signature of the enemy ships. One warship, larger than the others, emitted a pulse that could disable the station's shields in a single hit. He traced the pulse, predicted its trajectory, and deployed a series of defense drones in perfect timing. The pulse hit the drones instead, detonating harmlessly away from the station. Dr. Virex's jaw dropped. He's controlling the battlefield from inside the station. Hayes moved with confidence, tapping commands into every system. The human brain worked like a supercomputer. Unlike aliens, who relied on fixed protocols, Hayes adapted to every move in real time. When one drone malfunctioned, he immediately redirected others. When a hull breach appeared, he ordered the repair bots to reinforce the section in seconds. Outside, the Krail fleet faltered. Their attacks were precise, but the station kept changing its defense patterns. The enemy's strategy depended on predictability. Hayes eliminated that advantage completely. One of the alien medics asked nervously, "Captain, if you can do all this, why were you injured in the first place?" Hayes glanced at his arms briefly. Tiny scratches and debris were already healing, vanishing before the eyes of the stunned medics. Humans recover fast, but no one is perfect. Even when we're hurt, we don't stop. The enemy commander roared through the comms. "Cease this madness. Withdraw immediately." Hayes smirked. "Withdraw? Not until you learn that underestimating humans is a fatal mistake." And then came the unexpected twist. A second wave of Krail warships emerged from hyperspace, larger, deadlier, and more numerous than the first. They expected an easy victory. They did not expect a human to be leading the defense. Hayes didn't hesitate. He initiated a series of maneuvers so complex that even the most experienced alien tacticians couldn't predict them. Energy flows were rerouted, drones moved in unpredictable patterns, and automated turrets fired at weak points in enemy ships. Every enemy strike was countered almost before it was launched. The medics watched in disbelief. "How is this one human capable of outsmarting an entire fleet?" one whispered. Dr. Virex shook his head. "It's not just intelligence, it's instinct, survival, and biology combined. Humans are designed to adapt." Hayes moved through the station with ease. At one moment, he was recalibrating shields. The next, he was rerouting power to turrets. When a Krail fighter attempted to breach the docking bay, Hayes activated a medical containment field, trapping the ship harmlessly and using it as a barrier against incoming missiles. The alien medics were stunned silent. They had treated countless species, but they had never seen anything like this. Not a species so fragile in appearance, yet so unstoppable in action. Even when a massive explosion rocked the station, Hayes remained unfazed. His minor injuries healed within moments, and he continued commanding the station with flawless precision. "Doctor," Hayes said calmly, "observe carefully. Humans survive because we adapt, even when every odds says we can't. We fight not because we want to, but because we must." The Krail fleet was beginning to panic. Their formation broke down as they tried to understand why a single human could cause so much damage. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and a few began retreating under their own panic. One Krail officer sent a desperate transmission. "Report, how is one human controlling their defenses?" "Impossible." Hayes replied over the open channel, voice calm, almost amused. "You called us weak. You called us fragile. You didn't count on us surviving and adapting." Dr. Virex watched as Hayes directed every system with uncanny precision. Every action was calculated, yet adaptive. He didn't just react. He predicted, countered, and improved. Another attack wave hit the station. This time, Hayes didn't just defend. He counterattacked. Automated drones targeted key weapon systems on enemy ships, causing explosions that forced retreat. Hulls ruptured. Engines failed. The Krail Dominion was being humiliated by a single human. "Captain Hayes," Virex said, on his voice, "your biology, it's incredible, but your strategy, your mind..." Hayes didn't stop. Strategy comes from necessity. Survival comes from biology. Humans combine both. That's why we're dangerous. As the battle continued, the Krail commander realized the truth too late. They had underestimated humans. Not strength, not weapons, but adaptation, resilience, and intelligence. Hayes glanced at the alien medics. This is the difference between being hunted and being the hunter. Remember it. The station shook as enemy ships began to withdraw. Drones patrolled the perimeter. Shields hummed steadily. Hayes's body bore no visible injuries. He was standing calm, prepared, and ready. Dr. Virex finally whispered to a colleague, "This is more than survival. This is evolution. Humans aren't just alive. They are unstoppable when they refuse to stop." Hayes turned to medics, his face serious now. "The Krail Dominion will return. They always do. But next time, they will know exactly what happens when humans fight back." Outside, the stars were quiet. For now. But everyone inside the station knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the unexpected turning point of humans, and it would never be the same again. The aftermath of the battle left the medical station scarred but intact. Hull panels were scorched, corridors littered with debris, and the hum of machinery was strained under the sudden surge of emergency protocols. Outside, the Krail Dominion fleet had retreated for now, but their shadows still lingered on the edge of the system. A promise of revenge. Captain Daniel Hayes walked through the corridors, his boots clanging softly against the metal floors. Every step was deliberate, calm, and filled with a quiet intensity. The alien medics followed behind, half in awe, half in fear. They had never witnessed a human behave like this. Most species would have panicked, fled, or surrendered. Humans? They adapted. They planned. They fought. And even in the face of near-certain death, they thrived. Dr. Virex stopped him in the central hub. Captain, your body had healed again, even after everything. How is this possible? Hayes paused and looked at him. Because humans refuse to die. That's our nature. Even when our bodies break, our minds push us forward. Survival isn't just biology, it's willpower. And willpower can't be killed. The medics whispered among themselves. One of them asked quietly, "Are all humans like this?" Hayes gave a small, wry smile. "Not all, but when cornered, the ones that survive, they become something else entirely. Faster, smarter, stronger, more dangerous than anyone expects." The warning lights flickered as the station's sensors detected movement outside. Several Krail ships had returned, smaller and faster this time, attempting to strike before the station fully repaired itself. But Hayes didn't flinch. "Predictable," he muttered. He stepped to the main console and activated every defensive system. Repair drones zipped through the corridors, healing damaged hulls, while combat drones took positions on the outer deck. Shields flickered online, and the station's remaining turrets rotated to cover all angles. The enemy fired. Energy blasts tore through the station's outer walls. But Hayes was already moving in his mind. Every blast had a trajectory. Every shield had a limit. Every turret had a cooldown. He anticipated each action and countered it with split-second precision. When a missile breached the station's outer shield, Hayes moved his body instinctively, absorbing some of the energy through minor contact with the reinforced walls. He didn't flinch, didn't stumble, didn't hesitate. His wounds from the debris earlier were gone within seconds, leaving only faint scars that spoke of survival, not weakness. The Krail commander roared over the comms. "Withdraw immediately. This human, he should be dead." Hayes didn't respond with words. Instead, he initiated a counterattack. Defense drones targeted the enemy's weapon systems with incredible accuracy. Lasers struck engines, disabling mobility. Hull breaches spread across enemy ships. One by one, the smaller vessels were neutralized. Dr. Virex watched, his eyes wide with disbelief. This is impossible. He's controlling the station, adapting faster than we could ever imagine, and the humans are healing mid-battle. Hayes paused briefly and turned to the medics. "Watch carefully. This is what survival looks like when a species refuses to die." He adjusted power to the turrets, rerouted energy to reinforce shields, and ordered repair drones to act as moving barriers between critical points of the station. Each action was simultaneous, precise, and impossible for the alien medics to fully comprehend. Yet, it was instinctive for him. A massive Krail warship fired a focused plasma beam aimed directly at the station's main reactor. The aliens panicked, expecting an explosion that would destroy everything. Hayes predicted the attack milliseconds before it arrived. He rerouted energy to secondary shields, and the beam struck them instead, dispersing harmlessly. One medic gasped, "It's like he can see the future." Hayes didn't answer. He was too focused, too calm, and too in control. Every motion, every command, every decision was guided by human instinct, a combination of intelligence, experience, and pure survival will. The enemy fleet realized too late that brute force was useless. Every attack was met with adaptation. Every plan they had relied on failed. And the human at the heart of the station was more than a soldier. He was evolution in motion. Several of the enemy ships attempted retreat. Their commander, desperate and humiliated, sent one last message. "Report, what kind of creature is this? He should be dead." Hayes's voice echoed over the channel, calm and unshaken. I am what happens when a species refuses to die. You will learn eventually that underestimating humans is your greatest mistake. Meanwhile, inside the station, the alien medics finally understood something crucial. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most powerful, but they were resilient, adaptive, unstoppable when cornered. Every injury, every threat, every near-death experience made them stronger, smarter, faster. The station's alarm slowed as the remaining enemy ships withdrew. The battle was over for now, but everyone inside knew this was only temporary. The Krail Dominion would return, but Hayes wasn't worried. He had survived worse. He had adapted, and he would continue to do so, no matter what came next. Dr. Virex approached him, still shaken. Captain, your species, it's extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. Hayes nodded quietly. We're not extraordinary. We're survivors. That's the difference. Most species fight to dominate. Humans fight to live. And when we fight to live, nothing can stop us. The medics, still recovering from shock and awe, nodded. They had witnessed a truth no alien had fully understood. The human species could never be defeated, not truly. Even when wounded, even when outnumbered, even when the odds were against them, humans survived. And survival bred power beyond comprehension. Hayes walked to the observation deck. Outside, stars stretched endlessly, calm yet filled with silent threats. The Krail Dominion was still out there, but he didn't fear them. He had faced impossible odds and survived. He had adapted, and he had healed. A young medic whispered, almost to herself, "They are unstoppable." Hayes didn't respond. He looked at the stars, calm and ready. "We always survive," he said softly. Then, almost as if sensing the human's determination, the station's AI issued a simple report. New species classification. Humans impossible to kill. Hayes smiled faintly. He had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had shown the universe something it would never forget. Humans were not just another species. They were a force of nature, a species that adapted, endured, and refused to die. Outside, the stars remained quiet for now, but the galaxy had changed. Every intelligent species that had ever underestimated humans would soon learn a lesson the hard way, because humans, when cornered, were not to be hunted, they were to be feared. And Captain Daniel Hayes, the human soldier who had walked into a medical station as a patient, now stood as a living proof of humanity's ultimate power. The Krail Dominion may return. They may bring larger fleets, deadlier weapons, and greater numbers, but it would not matter. Humans adapted. Humans survived. Humans healed. And the one truth that echoed across every star system remained unchanged. Humans always find a way, even when death seems certain, even when the odds are impossible, even when the galaxy says they cannot survive, because humans refuse to die.